Hey guys, welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. I'm your host Jason Lee, and I'm here today with Miss Kim Flores, the Vice President of Business Development with Pro Citrus Network. And today we're going to talk about oranges and fruit and citrus, and really like how you get it and where it comes from, and then the impact the supply chain stuff has really had on really the entire region and the nation. We're all seeing it really in the grocery stores, and so Kim's going to talk about their role really in logistics and orchestrating getting this great stuff out to the rest of us, and then what we can kind of maybe expect in the future as we're battling this stuff. And we know, Kim, you're joining us today from Florida, so we want to make sure we highlight that. We're all praying for your great state, and I'm sure we'll share a little bit about how even that impact is going to continue to impact supply chain when it comes to fruits and vegetables, because we're all feeling it, right? Every time you go to the grocery store, you can't help but feel it. So we want to make sure that today we take ample time to help you explain a little bit about y'all's history, where you come from, and then really your day-to-day and how you serve really the industry between growers and then the grocery stores and the suppliers that bring it home to us. So why don't you first of all share a little bit about your background for the audience?
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm from Florida. Pro Citrus Network, we're based out of California, and then we have a sister company here, a facility, Foremost Fresh Direct, that's our cold storage and logistics facility where we distribute our imports that come in through Port Houston. So I was basically born and raised in Florida, been around Florida citrus my whole life. And then as the industry has morphed and changed over the years, and we seek to provide year-round citrus for the consumer, we do our domestic deal from California, Florida, and Texas during the domestic season, and then during the summer we import from regions like Chile, Peru, South Africa, so that we have a year-round supply. So that's why Houston is such a big part of us, because it helps us to keep the supply of citrus throughout the summer months when we're not growing in those the states of California, or Florida, or Texas.
Yeah, we're always here talking about petrochem and everything else that comes out in and out of our port. We forget just how much grocery and how much work is being done to do that. I mean, you even mentioned cold storage. Those are not just readily accessible places that are all over the United States. I mean, I know big giant cold storage facilities are even hard to come by. So it's interesting that you guys have to use this as a hub to make something happen. For example, to get an orange to the Midwest, it's probably coming through Houston.
Sure, yeah, absolutely it is. And there's other ports in the country that are more seasoned, or more of a hub for imported produce. Like the Northeast is a big hub for imported produce, and the West Coast, California, Long Beach, LA, also as well. Houston, like you said, traditionally is more of a petrochemical port that fresh produce is not really known as a big commodity, but over the years it's really growing more and more and more, because there are so many mouths to feed in Texas and, like you said, the Midwest, and we want to bring that fruit in as close to the customer as we can, so it can be as fresh as possible.
Yeah, maybe you could help educate we're all intrigued by this stuff, and how it works. How's the process work, right? So from start to, maybe not start to finish, but we see there's growers all over the nation. What does your job really entail?
So,
I guess PCN's job, right? How do you guys bring that together?
Right. Well, we're the connector from between the grower and the end customer, the retail marketplace, like the supermarkets, and then also food service customers and other distributors. In California, the growing process is the same pretty much everywhere, but the shipping process is a little bit different from imports. Imports is a lot more complicated, but it's really the same type of fruit. The growers that you meet in California are very similar to the ones that you meet in the other countries. They're very good stewards of their land, salt to the earth people. So it's interesting to know that. Now the process, and from California, when you harvest, you take it to the pack house, you clean it, you pack it in a nice box, you put it in whatever pack style that the end customer requires, whether it be bulk, where you can pick it out yourself at the store and buy it by the pound, or in a bag, so it's value added that you can just grab a bag and go.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, so we do all that at the pack house.
Wow.
And then we ship it out to the customer all over the country, and then we also export to other countries as well. Now from an import standpoint, very similar process, except we do it all bulk there. Then we put it on, it gets inspected before it is loaded on the boat at the country of origin. Comes over to us, to the whatever port of origin it's coming into, point of destination. And then once it arrives there, it's inspected again, USDA, CBP. Sometimes there's a juice test requirement so that we know that the fruit that's coming in meets the standards of USDA. It's got the right level of brix, which is the fancy name for sugar, and the right level of acid, which is a fancy name for giving it its tang.
Really?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And once it's all got the go from our USDA, then it comes to our facility, and it's inspected again as it comes in. I mean, this fruit is looked at like, so many times as it comes in, so there's no question that there's any problem with food safety. And also our facility has to be audited for food safety certifications and all the all the regulations. Then once we receive it in, we then take it, dump it out into a conveyor belt, inspect it again to make sure that all the good fruit is packed into whatever bag it is that customer needs, or if it just goes out bulk, then we make sure that also meets the quality standards as well. So
it's mind-blowing.
Yeah. And that's why having a sister company, Foremost Fresh Direct, is so important, because that enables us to be vertically integrated. So we have skin in the game. We know that we're controlling the process and that everything comes out, to the best advantage of the customer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now talk to me about, everybody's experienced supply chain disruptions, and
Sure.
then I would imagine it feels like it's been one thing after another, right? Because you've got, now that I'm thinking through it, right, with fruits, vegetables, everything that's happening, you've got, first of all, the supply chain disruption just in general that's happened, right? That's probably created all kinds of a headache.
Yes.
Then you have weather that has to be a significant role with y'all's stuff. I mean, you've got droughts happening on the West Coast, and you got storms coming down through the East Coast up through Florida, wiping out crops, I'm sure. What all goes into the process of collaborating to try to solve some of these problems? Because every disruption is almost essentially another few cents added, I would imagine, that flows down to the consumer.
It's true.
So what things are happening behind the scenes to try to alleviate some of this pressure?
Yeah, so you're right. Mother Nature, I heard it said recently, is a fierce adversary. We are at the mercy of whatever's going on, whether that be drought, hurricane, of course, impacts that. Even rain, that affects how we harvest. So that, that can certainly have an impact on supply and demand. But more recently, in the last couple of years, where we've seen disruptions in the supply chain due to, the reasons that we don't have to go into, but everyone feels it, everyone knows what it is. The increase of fuel cost alone adds cost to the product.
Right.
Delays at the port adds not only cost to the product because there's a lack of supply in the market, but also can impact the quality.
I was about to say, yeah.
Right. And
it sits out there for 15 days.
Sure.
It's not as fresh.
Exactly.
Right.
And, we've seen where they've had significant delays on the West Coast ports.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, those, the importers and exporters are seeking other ports, like Port Houston, to bring cargo into. And then, of course, with fuel prices not only impacting the ocean freight, but impacting the freight on the road, the truck drivers. We have a labor shortage with truck drivers, that impacts it as well. So those are really the big things that are affecting the cost of the product to go up. And then we have new regulations that are coming into play that make it a little more difficult for us to do our job to get things in and out to the consumer as quickly as possible.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine how much added work has gone into your life in the last 24 months.
Right.
Yeah, so everybody say a prayer for Kim.
Yeah, just the produce industry in general.
The produce industry in general,
sure.
right?
Anyone that goes into produce does not go into it for an easy job. We're kind of used to no 2 days are alike, and it's always like putting a puzzle together to get things from here to there,
Yeah, one of my friends runs a company here in Houston called Brothers Produce, and
we know them.
We watch their stuff, and I've seen his behind the scenes things that are taking place, and it's just mind blowing.
It is
how much stuff they've had to flip upside down and inside inside out just to make things
Yeah.
happen. So
It's a fascinating
and we take it for
industry.
granted, right? Like
Sure.
I know. So there's multiple times I've been in my grocery store and I'm like disappointed at the selection or just you know,
Sure.
and I thinking these guys got to get their act together, but then I forget there's like 1,000 acts before their act, right?
You're not kidding.
Yeah, and it's all a lot of stuff that's out of your control.
Sure.
And then you're just trying to do the best with what you've got.
Absolutely. And they don't call it the supply chain for anything because there are so many links along the way.
Right.
And any one of those that breaks down or is compromised, then it affects everything else along. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
along
we've
the
had a
way.
lot of supply chain professionals on this show, and I
Sure.
tell you, their world, I'm blown away by the amount of stuff that they have to take on. You have to be gifted to be able to do that job.
Sure.
So talk to us about kind of some growth and things that you guys are doing. I know you got some news that you wanted to share with us, things that are going to help be more impactful for you guys that
Sure.
are coming our way.
Sure. Well, to do that, let me just back up a little
Okay.
bit. So PCN was founded in 2004 in California as a
Okay.
grower shipper, and then we saw the amount of opportunities that were in Texas, in Houston specifically. There weren't any people bringing citrus into the port, so we were the first to bring lemons into Port Houston in 2008, and we've just grown over the years. Our plan was to grow throughout Texas and then eventually through the Midwest, and we haven't stopped growing in Texas since we've been here.
Awesome.
So we started in a small leased facility, and we outgrew several facilities before we finally said, you know what, we need to build our own, and that's where Foremost Fresh Direct came into play.
Nice.
So Foremost Fresh, not only do we service each other, PCN, but Foremost Fresh also services other fresh produce and perishable customers as well. Anybody else needing cold storage. So we bring in other commodities like grapes and avocados.
Oh, wow.
And some other items, melons, pineapples, juice, and then some other non-produce related perishable items as well. And we opened that facility 2 years ago, and we're already at capacity. So we are working on phase 2 already.
Really?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
So we're in total growth mode. We have been ever since we've been here, and it hasn't been without its challenges along the way. Things have never been quite easy here, but we have a kind of a saying, is the juice worth the squeeze? And so it's been.
Is that really the motto? I love
it. I've got some friends that say it, and
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Sure,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Like in the business? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So it has been, it has been a squeeze, but it's been worth it.
Now, that's one thing you said, it's been worth it. All this investment into Texas, do you see that it will continue, from an economic perspective? Do you feel like the state is poised to support continued growth? What are your thoughts there?
So, absolutely. We've got close contacts at the port that we work with, and they're seeing growth like they've never seen before. It's always been a very growth oriented point of destination, and now is no different. Of course, there's the ship widening channel that's on the horizon that's coming up. And this year specifically, they're saying they just didn't anticipate the growth to be like it is.
Wow.
So yes, for sure on that side, and that doesn't come without growing pains either.
Right.
Yeah. So we really value the relationship that we have with the people at the port, and it hasn't been. Houston is, like we said earlier, traditionally more of a petro port. So produce, the infrastructure that's within Houston is not necessarily as seasoned or mature as some of the other ports are, with cold storage facilities and inspection stations. So sometimes there are a little more kinks in the supply chain here with bottlenecks with that. But as the port grows, and I think there's a new inspection station on the horizon here, things will open up a little bit, and it'll make that growth a little bit easier.
Yeah, I know. I mentioned that before the show about the cold storage, because it's not.
Sure.
It's not. That's a big deal. Y'all's facility being here, because I know that there's a constant squeeze.
Sure.
To try to find space for cold
Sure.
storage, right? It's a critical thing. So it's great that that's starting to happen.
Yes.
And that we're getting there.
Yeah. And a lot of the cold storage facilities that are here are more focused on frozen.
Right.
And frozen goods. So there are other cold storage facilities that are starting to pop up, But we've been here so long, we're kind of the ones that have the niche with with fresh produce.
And then you're expanding to kind of create more.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome. So ultimately, though, talk to us a little bit about the relationship that kind of people in your space, like when I say people, business owners or operators in your space, how does the Economic Alliance collaborate and serve with you guys? I mean, what's the relationship here?
Yeah. So our introduction to the Alliance was a little bit serendipitous. Our owner was on a flight with one of your Regina that was formerly with the Alliance. He met Regina on one of the flights, and it was just fascinating for the two of them to meet, and for Alan, our owner, to see how the Alliance really helps with businesses to be established in Houston, to grow. The Alliance has helped us with, permitting and connections that helped us get our facility built. And since then, we've been connected, and there have been so many opportunities to engage with the Alliance and to, network and make connections. So that certainly has been a big part of, one of the great things about being based here in Houston.
Well, aren't you
Yes.
glad you got connected with us?
Yes, so
God,
I
had
knew you
to
were
find
gonna
it.
get that
I
in
needed
there.
it. I was just
Right?
like, please.
There
And
it
that was
is.
it.
There it
Boom.
is. Right.
I was like, somewhere in here, I'm going to use it. So orange.
Yeah. Now try to use Mandarin in a joke. Right.
I think I could do that, but I'm going to probably get in trouble, right? So I'm going to
Sure.
try to keep the Mandarin out of it,
Right.
but we're good. Really quick, you guys are also doing some great things, I think, to educate people on the value of like, I guess, the produce industry and kind of how, like, I guess, eating better or healthy. Talk to us
Yes.
about your background there, because it's important.
Sure. Well, I mean, it goes without saying, fruits and vegetables are good for you. That's what we learned from a very early age. Helps build healthy immune systems. Helps you, just generally have. There's so many vitamins and minerals that good health properties within fresh produce. And in this business, we are connected with several associations that we belong to. The Texas International Produce Association, we're real big friends of that association that helps further that collaborative mission of increasing the consumption of fresh produce in the U.S. and worldwide. With kids as well, so that you learn from an early age that that's an important part of your daily habit and your daily diet, to eat fresh fruits and vegetables. And then some other organizations that we're connected with, like the International Fresh Produce Association, the Southeast Produce Council. All of these regional and national associations have the same shared mission and vision and commitment to doing that, to increasing the consumption by making it more available, by making it fresher, by educating consumers on how to use fresh produce. All of those things lead to that.
Awesome.
So
it's not just a job of getting things from point A to point B, but it's also bringing education to the critical nature of the supplies that you do bring to people, right? Which is vegetables and fruits and things that are going to help people live life better. So,
sure, and it helps with, not just it helps with the demand pull as well,
Awesome. Well, as we get ready to wrap up the show, I always like to give our guests a chance to perhaps highlight anything that they're proud of, or any success that they've seen with their company, or even talk about things that they're grateful for, right, when it comes to their company. So I'd love to give you the stage to fire away on any of those.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, first, we are grateful to be here today, grateful to be part of the Alliance. Like I said, we've had so many opportunities that have come to the table because of this relationship, so we are grateful for that. Our team culture is something that we really pride ourselves upon, and faith is a big part of that as well.
Awesome.
And relationships are a huge part of that. We're really in the relationship building business to help our growers and our team and our shareholders, anyone that's involved in the supply chain, to grow and prosper. We always try to operate with the utmost integrity, treating others as we want to be treated, the golden rule. So all of those are very important. We have a great team. We would not have enjoyed this growth that we've had over the years had we not had a good cohesive team with with those same values. That's very important. We're pretty selective with who we bring on board. We like to maintain that. Obviously, we're so grateful for the growers that we work with and all of the customers that we supply. We have a great relationship with shout out to HEB. We love HEB.
Woo, we love HEB too.
Love
Yeah.
HEB. We don't have a HEB where I come from, and every time I come to Houston and Texas, I go into the store and it's like,
They're amazing,
the
aren't they?
clouds open and the angels come in. And yes, HEB is incredible. And we have other customers that we work with as well in the retail and food service space. So yes, we're just grateful for all of the things that have helped us to grow along the way, and we want to continue to do that and be good stewards of everything that we've been blessed with.
Well, I've only known you for a brief minute.
Sure.
But I can tell just by talking to you and the time we spent before the show that your organization's lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
You can tell
That's
that
sweet.
the culture is rooted in integrity and
Yeah.
great values, and anything that's built on value and great values is going to be successful. And I think you mentioned earlier how Regina had ran into your owner, and we were talking prior to the show. God doesn't have accidents.
No.
He knows exactly what he's doing. He knew exactly what he was doing when he put that flight together and put those two right
Absolutely.
next to each
Yes.
other and brought you here.
Yes.
So we want to thank you for that. And as always, I don't know if you captured that earlier, guys, but with the Economic Alliance, it's really important if you're not plugged in and you're not seeking their help that you reach out. Kim mentioned earlier that they really help them get plugged in and get acclimated to this environment and find resources. So again, we want to highlight the critical nature of the Economic Alliance and its service to its members and its stakeholders in the region, that we will step in and support you and open doors when you need them. That's the whole purpose of the organization. It's to serve people like you guys, people like PCN who need to get out and serve our community and serve our grocers, serve our HEBs so they can continue to be as awesome as they are. And it all starts with everybody collaborating and bringing it together. So I want to thank you for your time today. If you're tuning into the episode, please continue to pass this forward, pay it forward by sharing it with somebody who needs to hear it, needs to hear the story, and check in with us at LinkedIn, Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram, and you can subscribe to all of our channels at allianceportregion.com. And go on there. There's a social media tab. You follow down, and you can click subscribe, and you can tune in. Subscribe is like the hardest word. It's like subscribe.
Sure.
You can tune in anytime and stay plugged in, and always stay connected to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. We're glad to have you. Kim, thanks for joining us today, and enjoy your stay here in Houston.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Awesome.